Hello and welcome to another chess opening video where we continue our series on the Ruy Lopez, specifically with the exchange variation opening that you'll get when playing the Ruy Lopez. So without further ado, let's just jump into it. So to start off with the Ruy Lopez opening, if you don't know, is white goes e4, black goes e5, white goes knight to f3, black goes knight to c6, and then we push up our bishop to b5. This is where the Ruy Lopez is. And from here is where the variations start, and with the exchange variation, the next move is to go a6. So what we'll want to do to initiate the exchange variation from here is the bishop will take the knight on c6, and black will take back the bishop from the d file. That opens the d file for black. What we want to do for white is to just castle and get our king nice and safe. So the first variation that we're going to be looking at, which is the main line, is when the bishop goes over here to g4, pinning the knight to the queen. We'll try to unpin it with the bishop, but if they come over here and defend this bishop, we don't want to take this bishop because what happens is we get another fishing pole trap that we talked about in the Berlin defense video. So what we'll want to do is we'll want to push up to d3, trying to get some pawn structure going. Black should try to bring its queen over here to f6, trying to attack this f3 knight. But we'll bring in some reinforcements of our own by going knight to d2. They'll push knight to e7, and we will open up the rook, trying to get some rook play and defend our pawns here. As black maneuvers its knight, we go to d4, trying to open up the file. If they take, that's great. We'll push the pawn up, attacking the queen. Queen will come down here to try to create some attacking lines. We take the bishop with the pawn. At this point, we're ready to trade and make it even. They'll open up this file. Queen's threatening checkmate. What do we do? Well, we don't have to worry about this checkmate because the knight is here defending the square. So we move the knight over here to e4. Queen will be pushed back, and we develop our knight over here to g3. Queen will have to move back to d7. We've scaved off, and we are at a high disadvantage of 4 points since we got that bishop over here. So what we'll want to do from here is to develop the knight probably and take the pawn over here on d4, or take with the queen here and trade off queens. The other variation for the exchange variation is after exchanging and castling, black goes over here to f6 instead of bringing the bishop over there to e4. What we want to do in this situation is we just want to push directly to d4, try to get that pawn trade, take with the knight, and bring it back over here to b3 after being attacked by the pawn. We'll then trade queens, and if this bishop comes out, we just close up this pawn chain, trapping the bishop. The bishop will come back, and we develop our bishop over here to f4, attacking the c7 pawn. If the pawn comes out here, we'll move over here and attack the bishop here, which will cause it to castle kingside with the rook threatening the rook here. So what we'll need to do from here is to develop our knight and bring in a defender for the rook when we move the knight later. Black will then try to attack the knight. We can bring it back, defending this knight, and we are in a flexible position for white. This is dead even. F6 is a better move for black in the main line for them. So in the exchange variation, you might be thinking, why shouldn't I take the e5 pawn after the exchange happens? This pawn's just kind of sitting here. It's an easy point for me to grab. The reason being is after the exchange, if we take the pawn here and the queen comes out here, it's threatening this knight and the pawn. So all you can do is go back, losing tempo and giving up the pawn to the queen. And after exchange, the king's in a worse position. It can functionally castle after moving the rook here, but you gave up a couple of different moves to get to the same position. So it's best not to take the e5 pawn. Now there's two traps that you need to look out for when playing the exchange variation, and that is after exchanging and castling and then going to f6, you push into d4, and that exchange is that bishop to c5 here is really good for white, because after that, we bring the queen up here to h5. They try to bring the pawn out here to stop the queen, and we just take the bishop. The other trap that we want to look for is after the exchange. If black brings out this queen over here to f6, what we can do is push up to d4 and immediately skewer out the bishop over here to g5, attacking the queen. It's defended by this knight. So what black can really only do is move this queen over here to d6. We take with the queen. And if they don't trade with the queens right away, we just keep developing. And after the long castle, we attack the black queen side over here. And there's not really much of a refutation that black has to stop it. Because after going rook to d1, the queen kicks out here because it can't take here because the knight is defending that piece. And after putting the king in check, it's checkmate. So that was it for the Ruy Lopez exchange variation. If you liked that video, please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I also stream on Twitch over at twitch.tv/ZachSagaski. I'd love to see you there as I play these openings and variations and try to learn my best for each of these openings that I can put into a video later on. Next up, we have the old Steinitz defense of the Ruy Lopez variation. That'll be up here, so be sure not to miss it, and I'll see you then. Bye.